Justin Knoll. Welcome to my podcast. It's called At the Kitchen Table.
Love it.
And I am your host, Amanda DeVito Parle. Thank you. And we are guiding, inspiring, and connecting entrepreneurs. So the idea is just to talk to people who are entrepreneurial in nature, people who've run a business or running a business, want to run a business.
Yeah.
Being coachable. And so you are the co-founder of a technology company called Get In Contract.
You got it. Yep.
And you're a former / current real estate broker.
Yes.
Married to a really lovely real estate broker.
Yes.
And you're mostly doing coaching and consulting and training and the software.
That's right.
So I say, back up, tell me a little bit about your history and how you've come to this position.
Yeah.
And share with the audience how we're friends.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that.
First of all, who better to do this podcast than you?
Oh, thanks.
It's amazing. Love it.
Yeah.
We obviously come from similar backgrounds and how we grew up. I grew up in a real estate office. My great-grandfather started.
Great-grandfather. Is that fourth generation?
Fourth generation realtor,
okay, well, that puts the icing on the cake.
Yeah, it's the mob. I can't get out of this. That's all I know. So I grew up in a family of the grandparents had an office in Commerce City, Colorado. The real estate office was attached to their house.
Yes.
And so you crossed the threshold of one door to the other, and it was house and office. And that's how I grew up, spending my summers there. My mom worked there. Grandparents worked there, aunts, uncles, everybody. It was a family affair. Yeah. Obviously, Thanksgiving, Christmas dinners, the whole thing is centered around around real estate. I have one aunt in particular who said, no, I don't. The first time we talk about real estate at the table, I'm out of here. And so we stare at each other wondering what to talk about. Real estate courses.
She doesn't want to talk about real estate. That's
so
funny.
we just... Okay, the weather. I mean, it's just all we know. It's all we do. Yeah. So I grew up with that kind of vibe of this. There's no fear. You just go. You just attack each day. You go hard. You have a plan. The typical entrepreneurial stuff. So there was never a fear for me of having. I know our number one human need is security and certainty. That's never been a drive for me. I've never sought out security. I've always wanted to bet on myself. What I didn't want was somebody to tell me what I was worth and what I could. Yeah. And so. People are like, oh my goodness, you've been doing this 25 years. You never really had that stability. I'm like, this is so normal to me, right? You're probably the same. We're just like, this is what we do. So it's in my bones. It's in my blood. It's what I've done. So I've done that for a long time. I've managed large companies. I managed a Coldwell Banker office when I probably shouldn't have. I was not prepared, but throw it in the fire and here we go. Yeah, that's right. And so that was a lot of fun, learned a ton under the corporate structure, and then went on to some other avenues. Madison and Company is a premier brokerage here in Colorado. And I helped build that to scale and got that to $1 billion sales on an annual basis. That was great. And just kind of fell out of love with running the operations every day, right? It was just, I'm a builder, not an operator, and I know that now. Yeah. And I probably didn't know that back then. My partner at the time was, hey, you having fun? And for month after month after month, having a blast. And then he didn't ask for a few months. And then when he finally did, it was like, I'm really not having that much fun anymore. So what do we want to do? And that's having a good partner in him recognizing, okay, let's not just pigeonhole you into this. What do you want to do? So we spent the next 90 days kind of transitioning me out.
Talk about that. So I'm curious because if somebody is doing something they don't love, and then they have the epiphany or the realization that it's like not fun anymore. Yep. One is like just like owning or acknowledging or seeing it for what it is.
Yes.
But there's work to do to decide like, okay, what is it that I want to do? How do you coach somebody that direction?
Yeah, it's ultimate clarity between your heart and mind, right? And that's where we start. There's a great training exercise, like the Do, Be, Give, and Have exercise, right? And it's very ninja coaching up in Fort Collins does a great job with it, but it's write 10 things down that you want to do, 10 things you want to be, 10 things you want to give, and 10 things you want to have. And what I found at that point was I wanted to give direction, guidance. I wanted to be a mentor, those kind of things, right? And that was pulling me full on. There wasn't this, I want to be secure and have a 9-to-5 job. That was never a thing.
Yeah, right.
So it was just like, okay, well, what does all this look like? And it kept driving me back to one-on-ones with agents, with brokerages, with MLSs, with associations, using my knowledge and experience to tell a story that they probably haven't heard that gives them a new perspective.
Right.
That got me excited.
Well, it's interesting that you sort of are pulling this way because I've been thinking of this concept, this sort of newer concept, which is the real estate consultant
Yes.
who's not in sales.
That's right.
And I see that you are like 10 years ahead of me. This is a novel idea for me, and I'm just sort of coming to it more recently than you are. But this is the mastery that you've come to, which is that you're this consultant that circles the real estate universe but doesn't sell the house.
That's right.
And so how long has it been since you've actually transacted a real estate deal?
12 years. 12 years. I remember the last closing I was in was clumsy. It was awkward. I sat and asked the closer, hey, do we still do the real property transfer declaration? She looked at me like, haven't you closed deals before? And I'm like, it's just not what I do all the time. And it was at that point I thought, my clients deserve more, right? They deserve an agent that goes in knowing what the TD 1000 is, the real property transfer declaration, not asking, is there one? And I immediately was very self-aware. I will tell you, I am self-aware in a lot of regards. I know where I should be and where I shouldn't be. I know what I'm skilled at and where I shouldn't be. And this was a poignant moment for me to go, I have this team that's well-trained, that I've had oversight over for a long time. And it was really built in my image. And then you start looking at that image and you go, that's pretty limiting, right? When I look at the talent of our team and how much better they were at the job than I was, it became clear, get out of the way, let these people do what they do best, and use your energy and spirit and knowledge and all my drive to start looking outward, right? 30,000 foot level. And that's when things changed, right? That was, what are we doing? There was a moment in our team where we were coming out of 2008, 9, and 10, where it was just short sales, bank-owned properties, HUDs. I had HUD contracts. I had all the things that kept us alive and thriving. But we got through all that, and we started looking at each other as a team going, what are we great at? What do we want to be great at? And what we found was...
Well, that was a scrappy time in the business, to be sure. Yeah, I was great at being scrappy.
I'm surviving is what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you go... we can do more than survive. We can actually thrive in a very narrow space. And that's what we wanted to do. So our team had an honest conversation. Are we willing and able to give up the investors? Are we willing and able to give up the HUD properties and the short sales and go headfirst into one thing? And that is helping people move from one house to another, sell and buy at the same time.
Right, sort of the residential resale space for the regular, everyday customer.
That's right. Yeah, and it became, we help people move from the Highlands to Highlands Ranch. If you know Denver, this makes sense, right? It's moving from one lifestyle to another.
Yes.
And we help you. And that's what our business, our service, our systems, our market, everything is really built around.
Well, there's such a focus in that. And like you say, it takes that standing. I have two friends who have given me mountain analogies, but the mountain analogy is somebody to just blow away the clouds, and so that you can see up the next path. Yeah,
that's right. And once, I will tell you, Amanda, you have to trust that the vision and everything will be there once the cloud is blown away. It's in you, right? You know what that vision is. You're just tied up in knots over the day-to-day grind, right? The inspection notices, the walkthroughs, all that stuff.
This is the entrepreneurial trap.
That's 100% right.
Yeah, it's like you're expected to start a business and build every system in the business and refine the business and make them all, perfect them, and then figure out how to let them go one thing at a time.
That's right.
And that's a hard thing for people to do as they baby this business that they're growing. And so it's the entrepreneurial trap.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing was we do a job draft on our team, and that is who likes to do and who's good at doing specific things.
Sure. And you build your job descriptions around the job draft.
There you go. Okay. There you go. So as an entrepreneur, it was like, I started looking at that list of all the real estate stuff going, I don't belong here.
Like, or at least I'm doing things I don't even like, right? Like, what am I doing day to day?
And they're looking at me like, dude, you're in the way. Dude, you are holding us back. And that is hard to hear as somebody who's the originator, the founder, the driver of this thing, to hear you're not what's best for us. You have to be very honest about that. Now, had I not said I'm ready to fly and do some other things, our team probably would be stuck.
Yeah, yeah.
So, or small.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you meet your co-founder, whose name is
Jim and Ben Perry.
Okay, that's right.
For Getting Contract, yes.
And so you meet these co-founders.
Yes.
And they have a piece of contract software they want to bring to the market. So how did you get involved? Tell me a little bit about this.
So about 4 or 5 years ago, we actually started in Texas with another company. And the goal there was to work Texas and Colorado in one swoop, right? And what we started to find was Texas and Colorado are very different in a lot of ways, especially in the real estate transaction, right? Amanda, I heard this over and over, dude, it's Texas. We don't do counter proposals. And I'm like, no, you do. So I went down there.
Yeah, because the back and forth says there's a counter proposal here.
And so I go down there. I'm like, okay, talk to me about this counter proposal. And agent after agent after agent was saying, no, we just write the terms we want in the margin of the contract.
Right on the margin. Yeah, well, we used to do it that way too. Don't you remember?
When it was
back in the old days when there was covered wagons.
Yes.
I'm just teasing.
We'll bring a sack of gold as our earnest money, right?
Right.
It was crazy. It was infuriating. It was frustrating. It was fascinating. So I started working with them on the Texas stuff, and we ran out of resources to run both. So we said, let's split off and do here. So we are here as a different entity. So I met them through some mutual connections and immediately found myself to be the dumb one in the room, which is the room I want to be in.
Well, that's right. Yeah, because if you were looking to blow the clouds away and look up a different mountain, getting in a room with smarter people than you is the way to go. Yeah.
It's, boy, you push yourself, you challenge yourself, you go, oh, this is the game we're playing. I better prepare a little bit differently. So, yeah, one is a West Point grad who is on his game every single day, one of the smartest, most intelligent, driven people I've ever met, younger than me, both are younger. His brother Ben is our CTO. He was the lead engineer on the workout mirror that Lululemon built. Like, he built that stuff.
Oh, cool.
So these are guys with massive amounts of experience on the tech side, massive amounts of success, and have gone down that path. As my grandfather would tell us, I've been where you're trying to get. They've been where we're trying to get. And that was appealing to me. So I'm all in with these guys.
So talk about the software itself. So what's the program going to do?
Yeah. So currently what most agents across the nation deal with is what's called a PDF overlay, right? You take a piece of paper and you can open fields up to fill them in, address, names, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's electronic signature. Like, that sounds pretty fancy. And when we first got them in real estate, we were so excited.
Right.
This was a game changer. You mean I don't have to drive everywhere or fax? This is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, over 20 some years, the software that we've seen develop around the nation offers a lot of features, but it doesn't offer a few things. Number one is security. Anybody can sign anywhere at any time, creating a lot of legal issues.
And anybody who's been practicing Denver real estate has gotten caught in that trap.
Yes, absolutely. There's a fix for that, right? Number two is the accuracy of the data. Ours is actually not a PDF overlay. We take time to value every single field in every single document that either the real estate commission or our attorneys have or your brokerage has. We called map them out and add a value to it. So what that means is that data now transfers and flows from one document and from one spot to the next accurately.
Great.
We don't have that, right? So we've solved for problem number two. Number three is the actual user experience itself.
Yes.
You as a top producing agent are sending out hundreds of documents and contracts on an annual basis.
Right.
When you're sending this to somebody who's got a high net worth, who's doing probably the biggest thing they're ever going to do financially.
At least this year, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're sending them over what looks to be a DOS-based program. It doesn't make them feel good. Right? There's better. They are used to Uber Eats. They're used to Amazon. They're used to transacting in a very clean, beautiful looking environment that's safe and secure and accurate.
Right.
And that's what we're providing. So those are some of the key differences that we have.
How are you going to claw the market share out of CTME contracts in Denver, which is the current bulk provider of contract signing software?
Absolutely. So they account for probably 80% market share in Colorado.
And in Denver, for sure.
Yeah, in Denver it's higher. And this is what people are used to, right? And here's what I know about agents, because I am one. Once we get a habit and a process, it's hard to break that habit and process because it's proven and it works, and I don't have to guess again. Here's what's the reality is CTM in its current version they are changing.
The technology's antiquated.
Technology is changing. It's very antiquated.
Yeah.
They know that. They've publicly said that. They've gone and partnered with another vendor, a competitor of ours, and they're planning on rolling something out. We don't know when. We've heard last year, we've heard this year, we don't know, but we're doing our thing. So you asked, how do we claw our way into this market?
Yeah, an inch a day.
Yeah, every single day is winning
an inch a day.
Yeah, it is exactly that. It's leveraging relationships I've had for 25 years.
Yeah.
It's asking people to trust. It's asking people to take a chance. But what we've also done more scientifically is we've broke down every quarter into what kind of persona we're working with. We know that Q1, I can't get my mom in there who's been doing this 49 years and has a process. I'm not going to get her to move over to this. That's not a thing. She's got her way. What I'm looking for is cannonballers, right? It's a 100-degree day. The swimming pool's right next to us. I'm looking for the people that are going, it's so much nicer in this pool. I'm jumping in.
Yes.
They don't care about what people think. They don't care about anything else other than,
well, and they're willing to just tackle the change in their business and get out of their comfort zone. And to be fair, that's coming at them whether they like it or not. Look at where technology is moving and how fast technology is moving.
And I say, look, I don't care which one you choose. Obviously, I want you to choose ours, but the fact remains is it's going to be different, and you're going to have to up your game. Okay, so it's one more thing an agent's going to have to do this year.
Have you introduced this formally into the market? Are you still in beta? Where are you at with that?
We are through beta. We launched with about 5 different brokerages, some good size ones here. We've been strategic on what they were. We want a good cross-section of listing and buyer agents, good experience, new agents. We want all that to kind of tap into. They built this, right? We didn't
I feel
build
like all you have to do is get the transaction coordinators on board and the real estate agents will follow.
Bingo. And that is a huge part of Q1 is talking to transaction coordinators like yours, right? Who's like, look, this is happening. We need to have you prepared. There's going to be instances where you're going to need to know both, if not another competitors as well. That's, in states like Georgia, there's 9 different software providers right now working together.
Right.
It's crazy, right? So you just figure it out. You make it work. But that is our approach and our...
But it's super speedy fast, right?
Oh
it's
my
seamless.
Goodness.
Like
it's
you just give it
friendly.
The fields and it just pops it out.
Absolutely fast. It's accurate. Yes. It's secure. It looks so beautiful. I mean, everybody we talk to is just like, this looks amazing. Yeah. Oh, it actually works this way too.
Oh, so you're right. Yeah. It did what I told it to do.
Yeah, that's right. So we're really keyed in on key brokerages and influence here in the front range market, you being one of those. I mean, we want to bring you in early, not disrupt your life, but
right. Don't take it up with those guys.
Exactly. Yeah. We already talked. So
I've already got you signed up. No, I'm just kidding.
But it really is how do we talk to people of influence that are cannonballers and say, let's go. Because this market, I mean, real estate it's a FOMO deal, right? There's a fear of missing out. If you're not in the club, you're like, I wanted that club. So if we can build a club of really top producing, heavy influence people that do cool stuff, others are going to want to join. And so that's working now. So we are live. We've got about 300 users just slowly plugging away at this. Yeah. We have strategically not rolled out marketing-wise at a fast pace yet. That's still to come in Q2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, well, you don't want to overwhelm the system either. You're trying to just make sure it actually functions properly. Yep. Yeah. Okay, so you got this thing going, and it's going good. And is the object to just be an operator and stay and operate it? Or how do you...
Boy, we were talking about this before, right? The operator and the builder. I love operating for a while, and then I get a little bored. Yeah. And that's just typical of my life. That's how I've always kind of been. So I'll like the running it, building efficiencies, finding where we can find some profitability or time.
Yes.
And then once we kind of tap that out, I'm like, okay, cool. What's next?
Pop your head up.
Yeah.
What do you think about this conversation around AI? I'm curious. It's everywhere. Fascinating.
It is.
Stand out of the way. Get on the train or stand out of the way.
I think, what we've got to understand is AI is much more for us than writing descriptions for house listings and that kind of stuff.
It can be a variety of things, but yeah.
It is incredible. And we're putting it to use in our product too, to be able to either scrape some data fields and populate it or find some patterns for folks. It's so crucial to how the future is going to be. I was very standoffish before. Like AI sounds like this monster coming over the hill. It was like the internet back in the day. We don't know what it's going to do, what it's going to look like. But when you talk to people that know, and Ben, our CTO, has to remind us all the time, look, you don't know what AI is. What you think you know is part of AI, but it is
so true,
far beyond anything that the average person knows what it to be. So we're going to see it's going to create a lot of efficiencies and a lot of better experiences in our lives. It does freak me out.
A little bit. Absolutely. It's funny. I was at the RE/MAX convention, and there was a futurist there. His name's Zach Cass. He's the guy who is part of OpenAI.
Okay.
And he was giving his talk, and he was explaining that when the elevator was very first invented, that nobody would get in it because it was too scary. Yeah. They didn't understand it. It moved, and how was I going to get back down if I went up the building, and all of this stuff, and so the inventors were brainstorming like, okay, how do we get wide adoption to this thing that's going to just change the way people live and where they can live and how they can get access and accessibility and all of this stuff. It was a huge piece of technology. And but he couldn't get the people to go into the car.
Wow.
And so they put mirrors in the back, so when the doors opened, you'd see your reflection.
Oh. Brilliant.
They put music in it so that it was a softer environment when you walked in. And in spite of the fact that it was unnecessary for operation, they added a man inside to call the other humans in to create wide adoption. And so he was tying back this conversation of AI to the fears of like a different piece of technology for a different generation at a different time in life. And so this was good to sort of pull me along to say like how many of these things that we have known we're going to change society, this technology that was going to change society. And now AI sort of is laying out there, lurking out there, and I just have to sort of walk towards it.
That's right. That's right.
Like, there's mirror and music and a guy in there, like walk towards it.
It's okay. It's a safe space,
Just
right?
come on in.
Come on in. I think what a great point you make is we have to, I mean, if you're anybody in business, if you're doing anything in a leadership role right now, you better be wrapping your head around AI and what it can do, not just from a business standpoint, but from exactly that. And that is the fear it has over people, the lack of understanding that people have about it and what it can do and not do. But I think going straight into it and really educating ourselves is massive. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. It's just I ask a lot of questions about it.
Well, and if this is me and this is my client database and this is AI, the idea isn't to insert it in between me and the clients. The idea is for it to be a tool in my back end.
That's right.
And it's kind of like it in contract. Like I have lots of these things in my business, these tools in the back end.
Amen.
That, help us be more efficient and effective at the job. And I think that, so efficiency is sort of the key word of 2025, which is how do we get things tightened up? And I think COVID forced us into that, right? Like COVID forced us to examine systems and our life and figure out how you tighten things up. But we moved ahead 10 years in 2.
Exactly. Boy, as soon as you said that, I thought back physically, it forced us to dig into our own lives. How many of our own closets and bedrooms and garages did we clean out during the virus?
Because we had to get on a Zoom and the shit had to be moved from behind us. We couldn't be on our Zoom call with whatever the garage, in the garage. Exactly. It couldn't look like a garage, but we needed the space.
And then you look and you go, how was I carrying all this shit with me through all these years? Like, this is crazy. And I think the same thing is happening in businesses. Let's dig in.
Well, and I think that the technology conversation that's happening around the meta glasses and some of that stuff, a bulky cell phone in your pocket is going to be like the most hilarious thing. Can you believe we shoved these giant computers in our pockets, like when we have a lens that will just tell us Google searches or anything we need to know or remind us of our appointments or to,
all the things.
Give me another talking point when I can't think of another question. Like if I have a lens in my eye and I'm doing this interview, it could say, remember to ask Justin about his mother or whatever,
100%.
And so then these things are going to be possible for us and we just have to move towards them.
Yeah, I agree. What my biggest fear is that it takes away the human personality of things, right? We've got to interject ourselves back into it. But I think from a standpoint of knowledge and facts, AI is going to be amazing.
Yeah, our kids are going to just live in such a different universe.
It's crazy. It's
crazy. Where do you see the real estate space? What do you see real estate doing? Maybe give me a short and maybe a long vision.
Yeah.
Where do you see the market?
I see the next probably 12 to 24 months doing exactly what we're seeing on a high level, and that is a lot of mergers, acquisitions, and restructuring. You've got brokerages that are figuring out we are underfunded, we cannot last. There's a reason they're called brokerages because they're broke. That's the sad reality.
There's the joke of 25. The brokerages are broke.
Yeah, they are broke. But they've got to find efficiencies anywhere they can to turn some bit of profit. And if they're not, they're looking to partner with other people that are maybe in a similar situation but have something they don't. So we're even seeing, yesterday Rocket Mortgage buys Redfin.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, $1.75 billion. That's going to change how people transact for sure. You saw Keller Williams be bought by a VC group.
Venture capital.
There's money here. They're just not funded enough.
Right.
And so we'll see. So a lot of restructuring.
What is going to happen? What happens with all the money that these brokerages were gutted, many of them.
Yeah.
Or at least took a big knife, a knife slit, right?
Yeah. And AR settlements, market slowdowns. Everything. This was a perfect storm of brokerages.
Transaction count.
Absolutely.
All down.
And then but I've got to keep my agents, right? The key to running a successful brokerage is 3 things: recruit, retain, and drive production.
Yeah.
It's the 3 jobs you got to do every single day. You can go recruit people, but that gets spendy.
Because you got to train them.
You got to train
And they got to
them.
know what they're doing. And you
That's
got to
right.
put them up somewhere and give them a phone and a door or whatever.
All the things.
Yeah.
Just saying, hey, come be a part of my brokerage and work at home and then come in every once in a while. You're going to spend more than you'll make. That is a promise, right? So you've got to recruit people. You've got to retain people. And that's where it becomes a human interaction, not so much of monetary interaction. So you've got to
Well, and the retention part of this business, people move around because they peek their head up and they forget to actually ask the questions, right?
That's right.
So they peek their head up, they look around, and then they move brokerages. So you lose this retention, even though they're not leaving the industry. They're just shifting deck chairs a little bit. And so that happens in a down market.
Absolutely. So, and then driving production. People need to have somebody in the office that trains, that teaches, that mentors, that does that stuff, that gets people off their tail and going out to work. And that can be expensive as well. So it's like, you want all these things, but everything you need to provide, there's a cost to it. And so I think in the next, like I said, 12 to 24 months is a restructuring, figuring out where that money is going to come from, where we can allocate it more. How can we drive revenue back to some of these other places that maybe we weren't seeking before? I think from a whole industry standpoint, you're going to see more of that, even locally.
Yeah.
You see smaller brokerages kind of partnering or going away. Sadly, I think long term, a couple of things that make me nervous is like the clear cooperation policy that's being discussed.
This kind of got hacked.
Yeah,
Clear cooperation is just so that we can get up to speed on this. It was tied to the openness of a compensation across the table. So two brokers, if I had a seller who was willing to pay X fee, and you have a buyer who wanted you to earn something, I could expose that to you as the listing agent.
Yes.
And that was the clear part of the cooperation, was that it could be clear to you what you were being paid.
That's right.
The NAR settlement basically took a knife and hacked at clear cooperation and said, Amanda, you're no longer incumbent to expose that money that your seller may have in their pocket for a cooperating commission. It's incumbent now on the buyer to ask.
And task work.
So clear cooperation, which was supposed to be clear, is now very muddy.
It's very muddy. And it's also brought in the MLS was the hub, right? That's where everything was there. You would see a listing there. You'd see the offer of compensation there. It was just how we worked. Now you've got brokerages saying, I think we're better off if we just have our listings in our own database, our own MLS, if you will, and don't go to the full market. Now, I'm a full believer that the full market is the full market will always get you the highest, best price. Well, I firmly believe that. So if this goes and brokerages start saying we're only going to put our listings in our database and we're only going to sell them, I think there's a lot of potential for bad things there, including 70% of our brokerages out there in the world are independent owned.
That's right.
These are mom and pops. These are 1, 2 agents, 10 agents, maybe 100 agents, but they are backed by themselves. They don't have a Remax behind them. They don't have an Anywhere behind them or Keller Williams. So I would hate to see that go away because I think it drives such good business.
It becomes an old boys club, bit like commercial real estate, where in the commercial real estate space, they aren't using the magic listing system to put the listings out to the public. They're doing everything in-house. And the thing is, it becomes an old boys club where you've got to...
Which cigar bar were you at downtown when you heard about that listing?
But that's right.
That's a real thing.
That's a real danger for the consumer. Now, the problem is I have a feeling that the residential seller will just post their own listing then. They're going to say, no, if you're not going to give me access to the magic listing system because you guys were infighting, I'll just post it somewhere where I can get access to the magic. And so that would be a shot in the foot for the real estate industry to do that.
Agreed. And it'll take a couple of years, 2-3 years to gather enough data to go, does MLS work versus this? I mean, I feel like I think
that experiment's been made, but who knows?
But everybody's going to want the data. So, but I think that's what you're going to see in transactions. I think the next 10 years.
But the data is interesting.
Please.
Because I have a philosophy, and the philosophy has to do with an anthill.
Okay.
And it is that the real estate agents have been the ants on the ground. That the real estate agents are the ones going into the houses and taking the notes down and turning around and putting that house into the magic listing system. And then the magic listing system goes to Zillow or to Realtor.com or to Homes.com or to anybody else. The syndication is what it's called that's pulling the data. But I was still the ant, remember? And maybe I'm a really high-paid ant, but I was an ant.
You're an ant.
If you take this piece away and say, well, we don't want you to be an ant. We want you to just let the seller be the ant. They can enter their own data into the database for the magic listing system. That's fine, except right now I'm a little bit of a red ant because you've kicked the hill and now you've got mad red ants who had this little hill with the sand on it, and there was a queen in there, and it was working, and the queen was the mothership, and everything was kind of working fine. But you kicked the hill here, and now you've got these sellers who are acting like ants. You've got ants who are still acting like ants, and you have red ants. And so now you have this like weird ant hill.
And where the hell do we live, right?
I know,
All together.
And somebody has to put these pieces back together. But it'll be very curious to see how this sort of shakes itself out. I actually have no fear in this because if somebody doesn't want me to be an ant anymore, I won't. Yeah. I just won't be an ant.
Exactly.
But I was used to sort of being that person who collected up the data and gave it to the MLS. Yeah. And so if that goes away, 99% of the customers are reliant on data that the ants are collecting. And so they will have to start being ants if they want it that way, which is okay. Yeah. That'll be a change to the business, sort of like the World Wide Web. Right. But we all survived, so I know we'll survive.
We did okay. I think where agents need to get better over the next short and long run is consumers have proved that they want the data and that they will use the data to transact and make decisions. We know that.
Yes.
Simple. We all agree. Where agents need to get better is turning it into, here's what this data means, right? We're all good at gathering the data. You do this better than anybody. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. I would say that if you weren't here. You do it better than anybody of saying, I've got all the data from everywhere. What county do you want? How long do you want it? What do you need? Mm-hmm. But you take it to the next level and go, here's what it actually means to you specifically. Yeah. And I don't think real estate and realtors, boots on the ground, do a great job of that. Mm-hmm. We just say, well, here you go. Here's all the data. Let me know what you want to do.
Yeah, sign
It's
here.
like, wait. There's so much context here that these people that are working a 9-to-5 job, trying to put their kids down to bed, trying to figure out dinner, trying to figure out who they're going to hire for an inspector, and we're just handing them loads of data with no context. That drives me bananas. And you look at it and go, of course, that's what you do. Friend, you're a minority in this. I will tell you that.
Well, and I think that the customer, as long as you can distill it down for them, all they want to know is now the right time to buy or sell? Well, and so the funny part about this is that there's always a good time to buy or sell.
100%.
And now is always the right time to go. And that goes back to the heart of the business, which is that it's a people business, that people move because they have a baby on the way or because they're getting married or they're getting divorced or whatever's happening in their life or somebody's dead. And so in which case they move. And these are the reasons why. Yep. So when people come to me and they're like, we're thinking is now the right time to sell. I mean, I'm leaving him and everything, but is now the right time to sell? And you're like, you guys are getting divorced.
Yes.
Like, now's the right time to sell. What do you want, market data? And so this is where it kind of gets hilarious, is that people think like, so as long as you can just say like, I have the data, if the thing that's happening in your life, the motivation is right, you have a baby coming or whatever. And so then you say, distill the data down.
Yes.
Okay. So 100%. Isn't the AI just going to do the data for us?
No, there is no way. At the end of the day, people need people to make heads or tails of what it is.
Sure. Especially maybe then, huh?
Especially, I think the pendulum swings all the time, right? There's going to become this reliance on AI. We're going to go, oh my God, AI said it, so it's the Bible. And that's right. And then we're going to swing back to, well, maybe I don't trust AI hardly at all. Mm-hmm. The truth is in between.
Well, and my friend Nick Paynes talks about one truth, and that is that the AI tool could be told the same thing so many times that it begins to think or know. It begins to know a one truth.
One truth.
And you have to be careful about the one truth, that it isn't actually that, the sky is green.
Right.
And if AI is told the sky is green and it becomes the truth, then the human has to combat this false narrative that AI has created. And that's the one thing I think people worry about, is how do you get AI from not giving a false one truth?
Yeah. The sky is actually not green. It's
right. In fact,
blue. How do we retrain AI to know that? Yeah, we're all going to learn together. We are learning together. It is bananas, but I'm excited to see what could come, but there will be some unintended consequences out of AI. That is
for sure
going to happen.
How do you think the humans continue to mastermind? You and I are in a mastermind groups together, Denver Mastermind. 2011, hold on, 11 to 25. Is that 14 years we're together?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's
okay.
crazy.
Long time. So we've been in a mastermind together, but no wonder we like each other so much. But how do you see the humans engaging in the next 3 to 5 years? Like we do in our roundtables.
It's so interesting. Our Masterminds group, the Denver Masterminds group, is so unique in that there is nothing that gets into any of our schedules that will supersede that meeting.
That's right.
Convincing somebody, you shouldn't have to convince them, but getting somebody to see that their time is actually very valuable in this, the relationships they're building long-term are more valuable than going on my buyer wants to see this property and this is the only time I have. Like, that can't happen. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a part of I've been a part of numerous Masterminds groups that start with this high energy, this excitement, and then people stop coming, right? Something gets in, something else is more important, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. And it starts to erode that relationship, that trust that people have in each other. It's interesting to watch a group of 15 to 20 people erode to 10 within 60 days. Because one person didn't show up. Now it becomes the accepted practice.
That's right.
So for Masterminds, I think it's about finding the right people that you actually want to learn from and committing to that. It's about sticking to your own schedule and not devaluing your time.
Right, yeah.
Most people are in a scarcity mindset won't do that.
That's right.
That next showing is going to be the one that lets me pay my mortgage. Well, probably not, but you go ahead and you miss this important time. It's more than a social club, right? We actually get a lot out of it. That's very unique. I don't know. There's got to be really one common thread that people want to get together and talk about. And for us, it's real estate.
That's right.
Going forward, I don't know what that looks like. If it's a mastermind group of tech or it's a mastermind of food or whatever it is, I think people will find their niche and dig down in that more. But I'm not seeing people communicate the way that we do, right? It's a very old school approach at this point. When I was in those other Masterminds meetings, you see people on their phone or on their laptops. That won't happen at ours, right? That's a non-negotiable. We're not competing with technology in here. And I think just getting somebody to realize that and understand that and commit to that, it's so habitual.
I think you answered the question then. The question is, the more AI, the more technology we bring into our lives, the more we invite this real connectivity, the real kind, where we put our phones down, we pick up our forks, we break bread, we, get together.
Kitchen table.
And really, I do think that connection is going to be so important.
I think what is exciting about this, and I have 2 stepdaughters, 21 and 18, is they are so used to the phone and they both hate their phones. They're not normal kids.
Oh, for sure. And even my 13-year-old is like, this is totally not going with
stupid.
me.
Yeah. If I could get rid of this, I would. And I'm like, holy cow, it's not what I expected to hear. But there's such a craving for that personal interaction that they don't know how to start. They see us and our peers. They see us have dinner parties. They see us socialize. But it's so clumsy to them that they don't even know how to start or invite people over to do something. Yeah. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah. It's interesting. My cousin Peter and I were chatting the other day, and he was saying that there's 2 ways to be in society: to be a consumer or to be a producer. That is it. And our kids are consuming so much. They're consuming a video about how to make a Coke can explode, or they're consuming about, think of all the things you can find on YouTube, particularly young minds, right?
Yep.
But if you can get your kids to go explode the Coke can and record it themselves and become a producer, to start to produce and that's a dichotomy that I think we have to pull our kids to become producers. Yeah.
So clarity to me is everything, right? When you're clear, I go back to this, and you wrote it down, the do, be, give, and have list, right? Yeah. So I coach people, just start here. You're going to find something that gets you excited, or that common thread that wakes you up out of bed every day and go, that's what I'm working for. It's not to pay the mortgage. It's not to impress somebody. It's that.
Yeah.
We had our girls do this, the do, be, give, and have list. Oh, yeah. And this was probably 5 years ago. And what you think a teenager is going to say is not actually what they say.
I see.
They wanted to give their savings and allowance money to hurricane victims.
Sure.
They didn't want all this stuff.
Yeah.
They wanted to be a better big sister. They wanted to do some really cool things, and it was mostly around experiences, travel, see this, do that, where we think, all they want is a new iPhone or a new iPad and all this
new
stuff.
shoes or Lululemons or whatever.
Exactly right. Because that's our own perception.
Or maybe our generational flaw.
Exactly. I wasn't going to say it, but you're 100% right.
There you go.
Yeah, we are built on consuming, right? We are very materialistic.
Totally. Yes, totally.
And you see these girls stripped down to taking that away and just going, who are we without all this stuff? And it gave me hope. I mean, we go through life like this, generations, this and that, or like the old man on the get off my lawn. That's how I feel sometimes. But when you put them to this, and I urge everybody, do this, do be, give, and have list with your family and share it and hold each other accountable. It's the coolest damn thing. It opens up everything.
Well, I am in admiration of the business you've built.
Thank you.
And for all that you're doing, and actually a tiny bit jealous because you have really set yourself up in a beautiful life. I know you're golfing and you're spending a lot of time with Piper, your bride, and her girls, and you've grown into a magnificent stepdad for them.
Thank you.
And you're a great leader and a good friend, and I'm glad to have had you. Justin Knoll, the co-founder of Get In Contract, and I'm looking forward to that. And so I'll be ready to bring it in. Let's go.
Let's go.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.